Hey, what's up? My name's Samuel Leeds. I'm a property investor, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you an explainer as to the property investment strategy lease option agreements. What is a lease option agreement, and should you be buying properties using lease option agreement? I figured out how to do lease option agreements when I was a teenager because I didn't have any money. And what a lease option agreement is it's when you buy a house now, but you pay for it later. That's effectively what a lease option agreement is. Now, for me as a teenager, I loved the idea of that because I was desperate to get my foot on the property ladder. I knew that properties were going to go up in value. I really wanted to get the keys and be like, oh, I own that. But I didn't have any money. So I learned this strategy, lease option agreement. Now, here's how it works. Lease option agreement, you set a price today. So let me give you an example of a car. If you're buying a car, let's say you say the car's £10,000. That's the value of the car. And you say, I'll buy it for £10,000. I'll put nothing down today. And then I'll buy it in 5 years. And in 5 years, I'll pay the £10,000. Now, you can kind of do things like that. But I personally don't think that's smart. Because if you buy a car now and you say, the value's £10,000, I'll buy it in 5 years. What always happens is in 5 years, what's happened to the car? Well, the car has gone down in value. So even though you get to drive around this car right now and it's like, isn't it awesome? I've got this car, I paid no money for it. Really, that's almost immediate gratification and it's not smart because in 5 years, you're gonna suffer because you're gonna buy this car and suddenly you're gonna have to cash out 10 grand, but the car's probably only worth £5,000 because car is a depreciating thing. It's a liability. Second reason why it wouldn't be very smart with a car is because last time I checked, cars didn't give you any rent. Cars don't give you any money. So in that 5 years, how are you going to get the money to pay for the car? Like if you can't afford it now, how are you going to be able to afford it in 5 years' time? So the whole idea of buying something now and paying for it later generally is probably not that smart. You buy a holiday now, you go to pay for it later, the holiday's finished and you've still got the debt. However, with a property, a lease option agreement, number one, you don't have to buy the property at the end of the 5 years. So you can, with a lease option agreement, at the end of the 5 years, you can walk away and hand the keys back and pay nothing. Now, that's why it's called lease option and not lease obligation. However, the seller has to let you exercise your option. So it's kind of like having your cake and eat it. So that's the first great thing about doing lease option agreements within residential property. Imagine if you drove a car around for 5 years and you hadn't paid a penny and then you went, nah, I've changed my mind, and you handed it back. That would be amazing. Well, that's what you can do with properties. However, on top of that, properties tend to go up in value, not down. So if you agree to buy a property now for £100,000 and then in 5 years' time or 7 years' time, however long you agree this period over, in 7 years' time, what happens if the house is worth £150,000? Or £200,000. And this is something that's happened to me many, many times. Well, what happens is suddenly you've got yourself an absolute bargain of a property deal and you've had 5 years or 7 years to save up for that property. So that's the second amazing thing about lease option agreements. And the third amazing thing about lease option agreements are if you are buying the property now but paying for it later, you get the keys now, but you've not paid anything. What are you going to do with that property? You're going to rent it out. So you're going to start benefiting from monthly cash flow. Now you might be thinking now, Samuel, sounds good. In fact, Samuel, it almost sounds a little bit too good. And if something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Listen, in most of my videos, when I talk about property investment strategies, I talk about the good, I talk about the bad. And there's often a lot of bad. With lease option agreements, honestly, there's very little bad. The only bad thing is actually finding a seller that's willing to pass your let you have it on a lease option agreement. You don't come across those types of sellers every hour or every day. You've got to work to find those sellers. So, and also with lease option agreements, just because you don't pay anything now, I'm going to put this out as a disclaimer, you do have to pay the legal fees. So you're going to have to pay a solicitor to draw up the contracts, which will cost maybe around £1,000. Also, you will need to pay a £1 option fee in order to make the contracts legal. So there's going to be a little bit of money, but with that, you have a property and you rent it out and you get the cash flow from the rent and you're benefiting from the capital appreciation. So if the only negative is finding the sellers, the question is, are there any sellers that would do this? And you might be again thinking right now, no one would do that. No one would pass their house on to me on a lease option agreement where I could buy it now and pay for it later. Who would do that in their right mind? Let me tell you exactly who will do this, because there are people doing it. I've secured many lease option agreements. My students have secured many lease option agreements. And the way to do it is you need to find sellers who either don't need or can't get the money now. So if someone's selling their house because they need the money now, you buy it, they use that money to buy another house to live in, that's not going to work for a lease option agreement. But if you find people that are selling their houses who've inherited their house and they're like, oh, I've got this house, I don't know what to do with it, I don't live near it, they don't need the money. If they sell it, they're just going to use the money to put in the bank and just have it in savings. For those types of people that are struggling to sell, a lease option agreement can be perfect because you're taking the property off of their hands, you're agreeing to buy it down the line. And what you normally do with a lease option agreement is you pay a small monthly fee. Second type of people are people in negative equity. So if you've got a property where your mortgage is really high and the value of your house is lower than the mortgage outstanding, and by the way, that's happening more than ever right now in 2020 because of Corona and the epidemic and what's going on. Property prices are dipping, which is leaving people with a higher mortgage than the value of their house. So those types of people that want to sell, they can't sell. And even if they did sell and someone paid them the asking price, all they'd do with that money is they'd use it to pay off the mortgage. Those are the types of people where their house to them, they don't even want it. They've got no equity in it. Where you can secure a buy now, pay later lease option agreement. And when you can find those people, you can then begin to build your portfolio using very, very, very little money. Now, if you want to learn more about this strategy of lease option agreements, I do sometimes run free webinars where I give advanced training on this strategy and go through exactly how to find these types of sellers. In the description on this video, you can click the link and you can leave your details and I will let you know. You'll be the first to know when I'm running one of these webinars. If you've got questions about lease option agreements, comment them below and I'll do my best to answer. I might do a follow-up video. If you want to learn more strategies, check out the rest of my channel. If you enjoyed this video and it opened your mind and it made you think, why not share it with a friend? Share it with somebody else, smash the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a property investment video again. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.